The following demonstration will show you how to create a disposition request in the Artemis system. There are two ways to start the disposition process. Starting on the home screen, you can place your cursor on the Disposition Management section of the menu bar and click on Create Disposition Request. Or you can click on the Create Disposition Request located in the Disposition Management section of the home screen. We will click on this link to create our disposition request. You will now be directed to the Create Disposition Request screen. Before we start, let me explain some changes with submitting disposition requests electronically that may have differed from the way that you processed dispositions in the past. The first change is that you can only submit record series on a disposition form from the same retention schedule. In the past, you were able to mix different record series from different retention schedules on the same disposition form. You will not be able to do this going forward. The second change is that you won't be able to mix record series that require an archival review with records that don't require an archival review. You will need to place records that require an archival review on a separate disposition request. This change was made so that your regular disposition request wouldn't be delayed waiting for the archival review process to take place. You will first begin by selecting the retention schedule that you would like to use by clicking on the drop-down menu next to Retention Schedule. Select the retention schedule that you will be using for this request. Once you have selected the correct retention schedule, the schedule number field will update with the current schedule number. You will also notice a print icon next to this field. By clicking this icon, you can view and print the current retention schedule if you choose. On the right side of the screen, you will see the Request Date field. This field will populate with today's date. Moving back to the left side of the screen, the next field is labeled Limit Record Series to, and the default option is Those Not Requiring Archival Review. This is the default since the majority of disposition requests will be for records not requiring an archival review. But if this disposition request is for records that would require an archival review, you would need to click on the drop-down menu and select the option Those Requiring Archival Review. The next set of fields pertains to you, the requester. This information will populate with your first and last name, and if you choose, you can enter in your title. I will enter in Deputy Clerk. The next set of fields pertains to the custodian of records. If the records custodian's name has been previously set up by the agency administrator, you can select his or her name from the drop-down list. Otherwise, you can enter in the custodian's first and last name. I will select the name from the drop-down list. The next set of fields pertains to the records and their alternate method of storage or status. If the records have been placed on microfilm, you can select the Microfilm Present checkbox. If the records have been scanned and imaged on a DARM certified document imaging system, you can select the Digital Image Present checkbox. Or if the records have been damaged and you have received a damaged record certificate from DARM, you can select this checkbox. The next set of fields are optional. You can enter in the location where the records are being stored as reference if you choose. Here I'll enter in basement storage. The next field is the RIM Request ID field, and this can be used to enter your own internal reference number for this request. I'll enter a number there. And the last field is the Comments field. You can type comments regarding this disposition request into this field. These comments will print on the disposition request and be sent to DARM for their review. I will enter in a comment. We will now move to the next section. This is where you will enter disposition request details. There are several ways to enter record series data. The first way would be to enter by the record series number in the record series section. You would enter the first 4 digits of the record series number, press the tab key to move to the next field, and enter the last 4 digits of the number. So I will enter in my first 4 digits. I will press the tab key, and then I will enter in my second 4 digits. You will then press the tab key to move to the From Date field. Once you move to the From Date field, you will notice that the record series title and retention period will populate for you with the information pertaining to that record series. Here, this shows you that this is the check file check register, and the retention period is 6 years. You will now enter the oldest date of the records for this record series in the from date field. You will enter in the 2-digit month number and enter in the 4-digit year. You will then move to the to date field and enter the most recent date for the record series. So I will enter in January 2002 through December 2002. You can now press the Tab key to move to the medium type field. You will select the medium type of your records from the drop-down list. Your choices are paper, microfilm, digital image, audio-visual, and electronic record. I will pick paper for this medium type. Next, you will move to the volume field and enter in the total volume in cubic feet that is being disposed of for this record series. As an added feature to help you calculate the volume, if you click on the blue question mark located in the volume field, this will bring up a volume calculator. You can enter in the total number of containers and then select the type of container that your records are stored in from the drop-down list. So here I will pick 15 boxes, and I will say that these are lateral legal size drawers, and I will click the OK button. This will calculate and enter the total volume of cubic feet and enter it in the volume field for you. So that calculated 37.5 cubic feet. At this point, you will click on the Save button located on the bottom of this screen to save your disposition request and what you've done so far. If your disposition saved correctly, you will see a message in green at the top of the screen that reads Disposition Request Saved Successfully. If there was an error while saving this information, you would see a message in red at the top of the screen indicating the problem. Also, when you save your request for the first time, the system will assign a request ID number to this request. Two other items that I would like to point out to you are on the left side of the screen next to the row number. There is a blue icon with the letter I in the middle. By clicking on this icon, a pop-up box will appear displaying the retention policy and the retention period for these records. The second icon is a green icon with the letter C in the middle. This is a comments field to be used to add comments pertaining to that line only. This is different from the disposition comments we discussed earlier. At this point, if you have additional records to add to this request, you could either click on the Add New Row button or the Add Multiple Rows button. If you click on the Add New Row button, it will add one blank row for you to enter data for your next record series. Let's click on Add New Row. Let me now show you another way to select record series information. If you click on the blue question mark located in the record series number field, you will be presented with a list of all record series numbers along with their title and retention period. You can select the record series by clicking on the record series number. I will click on this number right here. Once the record series title and retention period are displayed, you would continue to follow the same instructions as before by entering the date information, medium type, and volume information. So I will enter in the same dates as before. We will say this medium type happens to be a digital image, and we'll say that's 1 cubic foot. I will now click Save to save my progress up to this point. The other way to select record series, especially if you have several record series that you want to add at one time, is to click on the Add Multiple Rows button. This will bring up a similar pop-up box with record series information, but you will have a checkbox option on the left side of each record series. You can scroll up and down the list and select multiple record series. So let me scroll up and down the list here and pick a few record series. Once you are done with your selections, you can scroll to the top of the window and select OK or just press Enter. You can now enter the information following the same instructions that were discussed before. So I will put in my same date range for this one. I will say that my medium type here is an audio-visual and 1 cubic foot. Here I will put 2008 information. We'll leave that as paper. That's 5 cubic feet. And this one we'll put as 01 2005 to 12 2005 paper, and we'll leave that as 1 cubic foot. Once you are finished entering all the required data, click Save to save this information. If any records are still within their retention period, you will see a date appear in the Dispose After field, letting you know as of which date these record series can be disposed of. Check your dates, as you may have incorrectly entered the wrong date. There are certain times that you would request disposition of paper records before their retention period. If these records were imaged into a STARM certified imaging system, you would be able to request destruction of these records prior to its retention period. If it's less than 10-year retention period, they wouldn't need to be put on microfilm, but any records over 10 years would still need to be put on microfilm, or the original paper documents would need to be kept. So if line 4 was imaged, I would click on Digital Image Present box up here, and this is where I might put a comment in for this line saying documents have been imaged. If there are any rows of data that you would like to delete or remove from this request, you can click on the red X on the right side of that line. This will delete that row from that request. So here I clicked on the last line, line 5, and it gave me a box letting me know, or asking me, are you sure you want to delete this record? I will click on OK here, and I will save my progress again. If you are done entering all of your record series numbers, the next step is to print the disposition form. To do this, you will click on the print button located in the lower right part of the screen. I will click on Print. This will now display a PDF version of your disposition request form. You will now print this form and obtain all the appropriate signatures that are required. Once you have printed this form, you will need to sign this form as the requester. You will need to obtain the signature from the person who will approve this request, and you might also need to obtain a signature from a records manager and/or auditor. I will now go back out to my home screen and await the signatures of my form. Once you have obtained all the necessary signatures, the next step is to attach this signed form to the disposition request. There are several ways to do this. First, we will need to pull up our form, and we can get there by going to the inbox on our home screen under Work in Progress Disposition Requests and clicking on this link. And this will show me all disposition requests that we were currently working on. I know I was working on this one last, so I will click Edit button there. Next, we will click on the Disposition Form Image button located in the lower left-hand part of the screen. This will open up a window so we can attach the form to this disposition request. The first way to attach the form would be to scan the form using a scanner that is accessible to this computer. You would place your signed disposition form into the scanner, click on the Select Scanner button to display and select the scanner we're using. I'm going to select Fujitsu, hit Select, and then I'm going to press the Scan button. Once your image has been scanned into the system, you might need to perform some edit functions like Rotate Image, Despeckle, Remove Noise, and/or Deskew. If the image is not of acceptable quality, you can delete the image and rescan. All edit controls can be found at the top of the image window. So here my disposition form came in upside down, so I will rotate it. And other than that, my image looks pretty good. So once my image is acceptable, we're going to click on the Save button located at the bottom of the screen to save this image. And then you will see a message at the top of the screen in green that reads Image Saved Successfully. So let me click on Save located here. And then we should see Image Saved Successfully. You can now click on the Close button to close this window. The other way to attach the signed form to the disposition request would be to import the image if it had been scanned and saved to a network folder. There are, however, guidelines that need to be followed to import an image. The original image must have been scanned into the system at 300 by 300 DPI resolution and saved as a TIFF image. Forms saved in any other format or do not meet these guidelines will not be imported into the system and are not acceptable. So to do that, you would open up your disposition form image box again. Okay. And I would click on the yellow folder icon in the upper left-hand corner and browse to the folder where the image is saved. Once the image has been imported into the system, you may edit the image as we have discussed before. I'm not going to import right now. And again, once this image is acceptable, you would click on the Save button located at the bottom of the screen, and we would get the message saying that this image has been saved successfully. I will close this box again. Now, at this point, if there are any supporting documents that need to be submitted to DARM along with this request, you may scan and or import them as additional pages. This may include a microfilm certificate, image and system certification certificate, and or damage record certificate. You are now ready to submit your request to DARM. In the middle of the screen, there is a Submit button. Click on this button, and a pop-up box will display letting you know that by submitting this request, it will become a read-only document. It will also tell you that you certify that this record series listed herein have exceeded their respective retention periods and are not involved in any action such as pending open requests, litigation, or anticipated litigation as per federal rules of civil procedure. So this is just certifying that these documents are okay to be disposed of. So once you have read your statement, you can click on OK. And now at the top of the screen, it will tell you that this disposition request status has been updated successfully, and now this disposition will be submitted to DARM electronically. If I take you back out to our home screen and I point you back over to our dashboard, you will see that our work in progress disposition request went from 7 to 6 because we've just submitted it, and we will wait here until we get a request back from, or a response back from DARM on that disposition request. This concludes our training on processing and submitting disposition requests.